My name is Emily. I've been married for 10 years, and my husband is an executive at a major corporation. Because of his job, he travels a lot and rarely spends time at home. When we were younger, I used to feel lonely without him and would hug him the moment he returned, but now, his overly anxious behavior has become unbearable to me. His extreme neat freak tendencies would probably turn any woman off. That's what I thought. However, he came back from a business trip one day with a mistress and a child, saying, "Get out, you leech."
What do you mean, get out?
I've decided to live with my lover. You're no longer needed. His words were calm but left no room for argument, accompanied by a cold stare. I had endured life with such a man. Even if you tell me to leave suddenly, I have no money. You can't even do household chores properly. Why don't you get a part-time job and earn some money? We have 2 young daughters in elementary school. He used to say that he wanted me to stay at home until the kids were older, arguing that it would be sad for them to come home to an empty house. I understood his feelings and didn't want to make our children feel lonely either. Plus, I was somehow afraid to go against my husband's wishes. So, I stayed home as he wanted, without seeking employment, playing the role of a homemaker. But life was never easy. I scrimped and saved every month, repeating a cycle of extreme budgeting. Money was spent on my husband and children, but never on myself. I convinced myself that was okay. Once, I suggested that we both work to make ends meet. But he exploded in anger at the suggestion.
Are you saying my earnings are insufficient? Are you mocking me?
But many couples both work.
But? Are you talking back to me? How dare you speak to me like that, just a wife? If you can earn as much as me, I'll forgive you. But remember, even if you do, all household duties are still your responsibility.
It was an impossible situation. No matter how hard I tried, there was no way my sudden income could match that of my elite husband. I'm sorry for speaking out of turn. I could never earn as much as you.
Good, you understand. Remember, a wife is supposed to manage her husband's earnings. If you can't do that, you're failing as a wife. Don't ever bring this up again.
Any objection was met with anger. If the house wasn't tidy by the time my husband returned, he'd yell. If dinner wasn't ready the moment he walked in, he wouldn't speak to me. My life was like that of a housemaid or a slave. I thought I was lucky because he seemed to value family. Looking at social media, I saw many struggling with their marriages. No money, lazy husbands, cheating spouses. I thought I was better off. After all, we have children. My husband once talked about his father, who barely stayed home and would bring women home when he did. If they complained, both he and his mother would be beaten. He promised he'd never cheat or become a father like his. He held me tight and made that promise, insisting he'd always cherish our family. But over the past few years, he changed. Hints of other women, suspicions of affairs grew. When he returned from trips, he smelled of perfume. He'd laugh secretly at his phone, leave the room to take calls. Once, I casually mentioned the word affair. He exploded with rage.
When have I ever cheated? Do you think I have women because I'm often away? How can you be so foolish? If I have any free time, it's for work, for our family. Why do women always talk about such nonsense?
Facing his wrath as if about to be hit, I kept apologizing profusely. Even though I hadn't said a word about him having an affair, he yelled as if personally attacked. I'm scared of my husband. Our children have started to retreat to their rooms whenever they see their father, avoiding any contact with him. Moreover, he comes home late every day, and I'm left wondering whether to cook only for the food to possibly be thrown away. If he comes home to no dinner, he lashes out, frightening the children. I've been killing my spirit for the sake of a peaceful home. When did the times without my husband become my only peace? I'd be better off without such a man. This is what another part of me kept repeating. While watching dramas, I become engrossed in stories about divorce, wishing I could do the same. Hearing about others who've divorced makes me envious. Why can they divorce so easily? If possible, I too want to leave. But mentioning divorce would surely lead to anger, yelling. At worst, I might even be hit. And then, he might take the children. In the end, despite wishing he'd disappear, I can't bring myself to act. My husband cares most about appearances. Divorce would affect his future career prospects. That would mean losing my children. That's the one thing I wanted to avoid at all costs. So, I couldn't utter the word divorce. Even though now my husband stands before me with another woman and child, telling me to leave. He tells me to work part-time and earn my own money. I felt my lips twist in bitterness. Being freed from what I've endured up to now. The woman who has taken my place, stealing my husband, seems delighted to be my replacement. If she's willing to be the sacrifice, then I'd gladly divorce.
Does that mean that you want me to start working?
Yeah, earning your keep is the least you can do.
But don't think that means you've got a place to sleep here anymore. From today, you're out on the streets, like a stray cat.
I see. I'm no longer needed, then.
That's right, you're not needed. A good-for-nothing like you is unnecessary. An elite like me deserves someone far more capable.
All right. I understand. If that's what you say, then I'll leave.
Yeah, get out already.
I stood up and pulled out a document from the drawer. It was the divorce papers I had written and then given up on countless times before, fearing to confront him and thus discarding them. Yet, I still wanted to part ways. How many times have I filled these out? But now, I can finally confront him with them. Here you go.
What's this?
It's a divorce paper.
All that's left is for you to sign.
My husband looked at me, surprised. And then anger appeared on his face. Normally, he'd start yelling and raise his hand to hit me. But he can't do that now. Not with his lover here. He wouldn't want to show his true self in front of her. At least not until they're legally married.
You were planning to leave me?
He tried to keep his cool, a twisted smile on his lips.
So, all you wanted was my money, huh?
That's not it. What I wanted was your kindness. Right?
Preparing something like this means you wanted to leave. That means you must have someone else too, right? So, it's the same for both of us.
Do you think I'm cheating?
Yes, that's exactly it. If not, why else would you have this ready? I'm such an idiot, being considerate about when to bring up divorce.
What?
Well, guess that clears things up. Behind that innocent face of yours, you were cozying up with another man.
Quite the woman you are.
I was.
What?
You got a problem with me?
What?
Your attitude like that also pisses me off.
Well.
Always looking like you're the weakest. Never denying anything said to you. You're like a puppet.
How terrible. I'm just too scared to speak. And if I say anything to my husband, it just comes back 100-fold worse. Is that what my silent self seemed like to him? But it's over now. I don't care anymore.
Since it looks like you have a child on your side, I'll be taking mine with me.
Sure, I don't mind.
I got a boy here.
Girls are useless anyway.
Is that so? Then I'll take her without hesitation. And by telling me to leave, you mean you three will live here? Of course, I bought the place after all. Then, consider this a housewarming gift.
What's this?
It's the deed to the condo.
Upon realizing it was the deed, my husband smirked and accepted it.
Handing this over means you're renouncing any claim to our assets, right?
Yes,
I don't need it. I'm not giving you child support. After all, I've been the one supporting you.
He looked at me as if it were a matter of course, as if he had no intention of giving me anything. Not child support.
What a fool you are. Saying you can't live without me. You had a good life because of me, and you can't see that. To think you wanted to divorce without understanding that. How foolish can you get? You're really short-sighted.
That's true.
Well, it's better for me that way. Can't stand being nagged all the time. After all I've done to provide for you, to be talked down to like that. The only good thing about you is that you don't talk back.
It's not that I didn't talk back, I just couldn't. Even now, I have things I want to say, but there's no point, so I don't. I told the children to start packing their things. They looked anxious, but being left with their father would have been far worse, so they had no complaints. They nodded quietly and began gathering their belongings. As for me, I went to the bedroom and picked up my luggage. It was the suitcase I had packed once before when I thought about leaving. That time, I stopped because of the children. Who knew it would come in handy like this? The children stuffed their suitcases full and packed their backpacks with all their study materials.
Hey! Hurry up and leave.
Please wait a bit longer.
Rushing us is unfair to the children. What's so unfair? If you're leaving, better to do it quickly.
He said this while playing happily with the woman and child. So what he really wanted was a son. Even his own children, if they're girls, he doesn't care about. I watched my husband in a daze, thinking this. Maybe I should have brought up divorce sooner. And here I was, enduring all this. And despite saying he wouldn't cheat, he did, and even had a child. I'm such a clown. Once the children were ready, I headed for the door. It's over, and yet my husband feels nothing, doesn't even come to see us off. With nowhere else to go, I took the children and moved back to my parents' house. My sister and her husband were there, and while my parents were shocked, my sister, who knew everything, just hugged me silently and said, "Welcome back." After telling my parents everything, my dad was furious, and my mom cried.
What will you do now?
I'm sorry, but please let us stay for a while. I'll find us a place as soon as I can.
That's not what I mean. This is your home, you can stay as long as you need. What I'm asking is, are you just going to let Mike do whatever he wants? The condo is new, and you're not asking for asset division?
He wanted that condo and he was the one paying for it.
But the mortgage for that condo was tough, right? You managed because you worked hard.
My sister was right. The mortgage for our 30th floor high-rise condo was excessive. His salary couldn't possibly cover it. As expected, life became even more difficult than before. Yeah, that condo really made life tough. I said I wanted to work, but even that was shot down. When I mentioned we were short, he'd say to borrow money to cover it. Ridiculous, it was all just for his pride.
To think you went through all that.
Yeah, I managed somehow, but it was really hard. If I didn't serve Mike proper meals, who knew what he'd do?
Are you really not going to ask for child support?
He said he wouldn't give it.
He cheated, you know?
I know I could, but I just don't have the energy to fight him. I'd rather just part ways quietly. To that extent. My sister murmured, seeming to understand my feelings, and said nothing more. But then, my feelings changed. It was Mike's call.
What? We're divorced. Don't call me. I know, but the kids left something important behind. What? What did they forget? Well, it's their hamster, could we come pick it up? A hamster? Yes, the hamster is part of their family. Family? Ridiculous.
I figured Mike would say that. He always seen the children's things as mere toys. He wouldn't consider anything non-human as family.
You say that, but to the kids, it is family.
Family wouldn't be forgotten, would it?
That's true, but in the rush to pack, they brought their study materials, but missed the hamster.
So, it was unnecessary, then.
No, that's not it. They remembered this morning and were sad. Please, let us just come for the hamster.
No.
Why not?
This is no longer your home.
I get that. I'm not asking for the house, just the hamster.
No means no.
But. Enough.
I froze. Flashbacks of past events flooding me with fear. But I couldn't let fear stop me, not when it's for my kids.
I understand I'm being persistent, but it's something important to them.
What's so important?
It's ridiculous to come back now for it. But it's only been a day. It's a small matter. It's futile.
Futile?
What do you mean?
All your stuff, hamster included, has already been trashed.
Trashed? How could you? It's a living creature. You threw it away?
If you left it, it means it was unnecessary, right? Keeping such things would bother her and my son. So, I tossed it, no complaints. I couldn't believe it. How could he so casually dispose of a life?
You can throw away my things, but at least you could have asked if my daughter wanted it.
No need.
Once you took them, those kids weren't mine anymore. Why should I care about someone else's kids? But they're still your children after a divorce. Look, if it was important, you wouldn't have forgotten it. Forgotten or left behind means it wasn't important. Throwing it away is no issue, that's the logical thing. That was difficult for them. What? You're defying me? It's not about defiance. How can you do something so extreme? An adult might resign themselves to it, but they're just children. Can't you empathize at all?
My daughters were crying beside me, realizing from our conversation that their hamster was gone. It wasn't just their tears, but Mike's disregard for life that filled me with anger.
The kids are crying because what they forgot has been treated like trash.
So what?
So what?
If they want it that badly, buy a new one.
It's not about that. That hamster isn't replaceable.
It's just a rat. Why should I care about such things? Give me a break.
But it's a life. You're so annoying. I don't have time to care about you. If it's so important, it's in the trash, go pick it up. But the garbage collection already been done.
True. Today was the garbage day. And collection time had passed. I envisioned the hamster being tossed into the garbage truck.
If you get it, stop bothering me. It's all your fault. Explain it to the kids, make sure they don't forget things again. Explain?
Well, you wouldn't be able to handle it. You can't even educate properly. You can't do housework, can't be a satisfactory mother. Whatever you do, you just can't cut it. The kids are growing up without common sense because of you.
That's not true.
It is, isn't it? Even when I come home tired, you just hide away and don't come out. Normally, if someone's providing for you, you come out and greet them. You can't even teach them that, it's because you're failing.
That's because you're overbearing.
Those were the words I'd held back, unable to say out of fear. But now that we're divorced, we're strangers. It doesn't matter what I say.
It's because you're always yelling, the kids don't want to be near you. It's all your fault. What? Speak to me with respect. Why should I respect you? You continue to act overbearingly and behave unreasonably, yet why should I show you any respect? What a joke. What did you say? It's the same with the hamster. The kids were healing their hearts with it because you're the worst parent. And you even threw that away. It's not like clothes or books, it's a living being. Don't you understand the difference? Are you out of your mind? You, who do you think you're talking to? To you, Mike, a man full of pretense who only cares about appearances. Ugh.
I won't forgive. I thought to part ways quietly, but I will never forgive you for making the kids cry. I shouted, and hanging up, my heart was pounding. My daughters were shocked, seeing a side of me they hadn't before. But I have to be strong and protect them on my own. That moment was also a resolution. And then, I decided to bring Mike down to hell. Once I made that decision, things moved quickly, surprisingly so. And a week later, as expected, Mike contacted me.
Hey! What's this all about?
Being told this over the phone, of course, I had no idea. What do you mean this? What are you talking about?
This one.
Mike seemed to be panicking or just irritated, repeating this over the phone.
Mike, if you say this over the phone, I can't see it, so I don't know what you're talking about.
I mocked him a bit. Taking that as mockery, Mike got even more irritated.
I'm talking about this, the documents from the lawyer, you know?
How would I know that?
The lawyers sent claims for child support. I said I wouldn't pay.
That was you who said you wouldn't pay.
I never agreed to that. What, and now it's all to be paid in one lump sum? I don't have that kind of money.
That's unfortunate. Anything can happen.
You might even feel like jumping off the 30th floor balcony. No way that's happening.
People aren't that strong. Especially those who act tough and shout, like you.
What, you've become quite bold since we divorced, haven't you?
Yes, thanks to you.
I realized I had to be strong. I'm not scared of whatever a woman like you says.
Is that so? Just make sure you pay. If not, I'll just have your wages garnished.
So, you were after the money after all, huh?
Pathetic.
Well, fine, I can pay that much. But what's this about?
Again with this?
The bill for the loan has arrived. I understand the loan, but it's quite high.
Yes, that sounds about right.
The unpaid amount has been added to the bill. Unpaid?
That's what I said.
The condo's loan was too high, and you told me to borrow to pay it. But I didn't want to borrow, so I only paid a portion each month, and had the rest billed the following month. But I couldn't pay it off each month, so it just accumulated. How foolish. You should have just worked.
Oh, you were the one who said when I mentioned working that managing the husband's earnings was the wife's job. You completely denied me working. Don't you remember? Odd, isn't it? Saying not to work because you didn't want the kids to feel lonely, yet you threw away their emotional support, the hamster.
That thing could never be an emotional support.
You went ahead and destroyed everything. Take good care of your new family, I said before hanging up the phone. I had said what I needed to, and now that the past debts were Mike's problem, I felt it was time to move on. I let out a small sigh, convincing myself it was all right. However, a few weeks later, Mike contacted me, unable to pay the loan.
Hey, I can't pay the loan.
So?
Can't you help me out? You're working, right? You must have some money since you went back to your parents' house, right?
What a ridiculous thing to say after all the mocking.
I struggled to manage, but couldn't pay that loan every month. But you, being so competent and elite, should be able to, right? It's because of the loan you left unpaid that it's ballooned.
Well, that can't be helped. That loan amount isn't something even an elite like you can pay with your salary.
But you're so talented. You mocked me endlessly, and now you ask for help?
What a joke.
Well,
besides, you have a wife and kid, you'll figure it out.
That's not working out.
Oh. Then sell the house.
If I did that, she and my son would hate it. They both like this condo.
Well, I'm not inclined to help someone I divorced.
Don't say that.
Let me tell you something good.
What?
You told me not to work, but I have been. I knew this would happen once I realized you were cheating. And the income from that job? It's quite substantial. I can't stop laughing about it.
You're lying, then give some to me.
I won't.
Why bring it up now?
It's simple. I want to enjoy seeing you suffer. You took away something precious from the kids, so the least I can do is enjoy watching you fall into hell. I could hear Mike groaning with frustration over the phone. After that, he paid the child support in one lump sum. Of course, I knew it was all borrowed money. Now burdened with a massive debt, Mike got hit with a double whammy of loans and debts. Desperately working, his new wife and secret child, unaware of the struggle, believed they were rich and spent wildly on credit cards. This left Mike suffering every time the credit card bills arrived. Eventually, having revealed everything to his family, Mike had to sell the condo and move into a shabby place with his 3-person family. Disliking the poor life, the woman left with their child. I felt my revenge was complete with just that, but more hell awaited Mike. His affair and secret child were exposed at his company, leading to social ostracization. Losing his place, Mike voluntarily resigned. Now living on part-time jobs. Wondering how it all came out, it turned out my sister had written a letter to his boss. As for me, I'm still earning a sufficient income. Ignoring Mike's words, I worked hard from home, ensuring my children didn't feel lonely. Now, we live a peaceful and elegant life on the top floor of a high-rise condo. Keeping a hamster.